remains a 40-pound vest. I can only imagine if it was 100 pounds, but it makes me want to do some movements and training. This is remains a 40-pound vest. I can only imagine if it was 100 pounds, but it makes me want to do some movements and training.
It's a fight I very much want to see. It's if I was picking 3 fights I want to see right now more than anything else in boxing, it'd be one of the 3.
I guess the only concern with a 2-fight deal is that if someone is incredibly dominant in the first fight and it lessens the appeal of the second, as we saw with a third Wilder Fury fight.
Yeah, but I don't see. Even a third Wilder Fury fight is probably at some point saleable. It was a much different fight this first time than the second time. Like, I'm not buying into all the excuses that were involved, but something was wrong with Wilder that night. I certainly would rather see Fury and Joshua right now.
Those are the words of Lou Dibella, and Lou Dibella gives his take on the upcoming mega fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. And he does give his comparison to, since the reporter, shouts out to him, asked him that, what if it is someone somewhat like Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder? And he was like, well, something was wrong with Wilder, but then again, I would rather see the Anthony Joshua and Fury fight. And you can't blame him, okay? And he doesn't, for one reason. For one, you have a fight that ended up with a draw. Then you had another fight that was very dominant. One fighter was dominant over the other one. That is pretty much cut and dry. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to really look too much into it. And and to see 2 fresh fighters that never fought each other professionally, and they're both champions. They're both heavyweight champions. They're both from the UK. They both have some scores to settle with each other. They're both rivals. That's the fight you want to get made. Okay? Pragmatically speaking, that's what we want to see. And that's one pragmatic man right there, Lou Dibella. Because he doesn't cut any corners and he doesn't give a shit about what anyone thinks or feels. And he also says he doesn't buy into the accusations. Okay? And all that. He said something was wrong with Wilder. But what was going on with Wilder that night wasn't the shit that they were saying and what they're preaching, to people, to this congregation that doesn't have a sense in hell to what's going on with that whole situation. Okay, so Lou Dibella, speaks as though he said something was wrong with him. That's fine. It wasn't his best night. Okay, I think you should rule it out, and I think without all the singing and the moaning and the complaining and the blaming, I think that should have been the route taken from Team Wilder. But he, of course, is his own person, and that's his own team. They immediately started with excuses. The excuses came first and the accusations came second. Okay? And both of them were not really worthy, and they both really made a great impact on his career, negative-wise. Okay? Now, Lou Dibella, he also speaks, I'm going to continue in this interview with Lou Dibella or whatnot.
Because it would mean something to fight like an Andy Ruiz. I think that's a saleable fight. 2 former champions. Both of whom have been in with the top of the division and been the top of the division. That to me is an interesting fight. But I've seen Brazil, I've seen Gerald Washington, I've seen Charles Martin fight other people. To me, Charles Martin's like another Brazil or Gerald Washington kind of fight. And I don't think it means very much or improves very much. I don't think, by the way, I got to be honest with you. Coming off a layoff and an injury and an ass whooping like Deontay took, I don't think his next fight is going to be an easy go, almost no matter who it is. I think, he's got a lot to prove to himself and to the boxing world. But I don't know what a Charles Martin fight does for anybody. particularly the fans.
Wow. So Lou Dibella disproves the Martin fight. He says that he would rather see Andy Ruiz, and let me counterpunch. Okay. Yes, people would rather see Andy Ruiz fight. But like I told you, in Wilder's defense, Andy Ruiz is the type of fighter that he's coming off of also a long layoff. He hasn't fought in over a year. Okay. And he needs to have a tune-up fight, or that's what he desires, because that's the last thing he stated. He's already bypassed two major fights, one with Ortiz and the other one with Dillian White. And he didn't fight any of those guys. He passed on those guys. And while he was passing on those guys, he was supposedly training. And this was actually when he was just deciding to go with Eddie Reynoso and Chepo, right? So that is what he decided to do. Now, you want Wilder to go in there and fight some guy that may not even be available to fight. He might not even want to fight. Okay? And especially someone like Wilder. Now back to Charles Martin. Charles Martin to Lou Dibella, he says he's more like a Brazil or a Gerald Washington type. But he did add, coming off an injury, an ass whooping, and a layoff, no fight will be easy for him. So he does give Charles Martin some credit. And I think that brings some excitement, because Wilder, despite all the things he went through, he went through that ass whooping and he had surgery and all that good stuff. He's going to have to acclimate, and he's going to have to adjust while in the ring with a guy that's been training with Manny Robles, the guy that used to train the guy that he wants him to see him fight, which is Andy Ruiz. Okay, and I think Manny Robles is planning everything that he did in Andy Ruiz into Charles Martin. Charles Martin is a new fighter. I think he's a different fighter. I think he has different motivation. I think being around positive people influenced him. I think when he did get beat by Anthony Joshua, he kind of lost it for a minute, but a lot of fighters do. He's not alone. Look at Wilder. Okay, again. So I think everybody can pick themselves back up and move forward in a positive way. So I would like to see the Charles Martin fight. And again, he's been in there with Anthony Joshua too, just like Andy Ruiz has. So I mean, he's been in there. I mean, it didn't last long, but he still fought the top. He's still a former champ, and he was a champion. So it is what it is. I mean, it can sell. Okay, there are two American fights. It can happen. They're both with PBC. We don't have the politics behind it, so why not? I disagree with Lou Dibella, and because what he's doing is, in this instance, he's saying that, oh, well, I think it's going to be anybody he fights is going to be a hard fight for him. So there you go. It's going to be a challenge for him. So people are going to see Wilder struggle, perhaps, according to Lou Dibella. So why not see him struggle, and he can show more of his heart and his desire and the things that he's trying to do in there, despite having the injury. He might overextend it and hurt his hand again, or he might not be 100%, or he might have some mental demons in there, but he's going to have to fight through all that through this fight. Why not? Let's see that fight with Charles Martin. But that's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think of Lou Dibella and his interview today. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys can counterpunch. Peace.